Motoring 2011 on TSN is brought to you by Quaker State, Real Durable Oil, and Michelin, a better way forward.
This week we're in Ottawa, our nation's capital, and as you can see, it is one wet, miserable day. However, considering our first story this week, the weather is probably appropriate. It's no secret that the past year or so has been a bad one for the Toyota Motor Corporation. Just as they began to celebrate becoming the world's #1 automaker, the proverbial you-know-what hit the fan. Nearly 10 million vehicles recalled, billions of dollars in losses. And this just in, as I speak, Toyota has recalled over 600,000 Priuses. And while this is all happening, Ford and General Motors, of course, are enjoying a little renaissance. Now, Toyota invited some automotive journalists here to Ottawa to, well, I'm not sure what we're doing here, and that's why we are here. I thought it'd be a good opportunity to check up with Toyota. You know, that unintended acceleration has never been proven. Has anybody noticed? And is Toyota willing to accept just a little blame for the mess it finds itself in? And you know, along with that #1 ranking, I think came along a little bit of arrogance. Has that been replaced with humility? And what does the future hold for this company? Let's find out.
Tonight is, I won't say a coming out party, but it does represent, part of the effort to talk about, the change that's in process.
I wasn't sure what it was all about either. You're right. We did see. We saw the 2011 Toyota Corolla. It's it's had some things done to it externally, and some features have been added, safety features. So it's interesting, but we haven't driven it. But I think really what this is about is perhaps Toyota trying to make a different impression, communicate more directly with media, with its customers, and just I think try to be more forthright about how it operates and what its intentions are in the future.
Obviously, the past year's had some challenges, but there's no such thing as a challenge that doesn't bring opportunities as well. And my personal mantra through all of this has been never let a good crisis go to waste. Use that opportunity to look at what it is that you're doing, and really in the Toyota spirit of things, to Kaizen all of your operations. Don't throw out the good, but look for opportunities for improvement.
I think it's more humble and it's more realistic. They figured out that, when you're out front, everybody's aiming at you. We had a comment earlier this evening that you never waste a good crisis. Well, you can rest assured that their competitors didn't waste this crisis either.
A lot of this was media driven to some extent. Everyone jumped on it. It was in all the papers, the television, it was a big kind of crisis. And, it's like, it's hard for consumers to get a sense of, what's the bottom line here.
We also launched a floor mat awareness and education campaign, including a letter that's being mailed to 1.1 million customers. And it stresses the importance of using only certified floor mats.
The floor mat thing was never even an issue in Canada. And yet, people are taking them into dealerships and asking dealers to do something with them. And yet they were designed differently, supplied differently. I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous. Everybody's enjoying this drama, and there's really nothing to it.
The company does have to accept some blame or responsibility for how things have turned out, because surely that they didn't want it to turn out this way, and it has.
Safety comes standard on every Toyota. We're dedicated to two things at Toyota. One is not having safety problems. The second one is making sure that our customers have the support that they need to be able to use and enjoy their vehicles. And tonight we're talking about both of those things.
The fact that Toyota has gone through some of the largest recalls in the history of the automobile, done it so quickly, 6 months time, something like a 97% completion rate, is unheard of. These guys got their bell rung, got up off the canvas, and they're back at it, and they're showing people that they're serious about cars and serious about making quality cars.
If I look back on the events of the last few months, what this has done is it's caused Toyota to look at absolutely everything we do. I believe that everything that we've done, from the design and engineering, from the process improvements at Toyota, all of that's paying off in a remarkably better company and better product lineup for our customers.
People are still buying Toyotas. It's not like everyone's not buying these cars anymore. They've had some bad kind of press, some bad publicity, and they've been associated with things that they don't like. So I think they can recover from that.
It's time to, in a sense, get back to the heart of Toyota to make a commitment to our customers.
I think they will not only be better, but they'll be more human. They'll be more willing to listen to what people have to say, as opposed to, oh yes, sure, pat you on the head and point you at the door.
I don't think that we have any role other than to be humble and to listen to our customer and do the things that we need to do to support him or her. I'm very optimistic.
Now, that's a gorgeous Japanese car. Where are the rest of them? More later on Kenzie's Corner.
It may be foggy out here on the skid pad, but the clarity and new direction of this all-new S60 Volvo, it manages to shine through it all. The latest S60 moves the brand further away from the squared-off design theme by incorporating a fast, almost coupe-like roofline, a broad stance and a strong face. It is an eye-catching blend of modern, although nobody is going to mistake it for anything other than a Volvo. More importantly, though, it gives the once conservative company some needed street credibility. This Volvo S60 has a couple of interesting technologies along for the ride. The first one is city safety. It actively looks for cars ahead of the Volvo. If it sees one and it's closing in at such a rate that you might rear-end it, at speeds below 15 kilometers an hour, this thing takes over and brings the car to a standstill. The second technology actually looks for pedestrians using a camera and a radar that's mounted in the grille. If it spots somebody and the driver takes no action to avoid them, it again uses the auto brake function to bring the car to a halt before you mow the pedestrian down. Two very interesting technologies that really do speak to what you can expect to see in the future. The S60 has got plenty of fire in its belly as the 3-litre turbocharged engine dishes out its sweetness without so much as a hint of turbo lag. Obviously, having 300 horsepower on tap helps the performance cause, but it's the torque plateau that really sealed it for me. The 325 pound-feet of torque shows up at a low 2100 RPM, and it stays with it through 4200 RPM, which is right about where the horses begin to gallop. As such, there is one long, strong pull from rest to serious speed. It puts 100k on the clock in 5.8 seconds, and it accomplishes the 80 to 120 passing move in 4.5 seconds, which is quick for a full-bodied sedan. All 2185 kilograms of it. The interior of this S60 has been very well thought through, and it really is a very nice place to spend time. The materials are excellent, the two-tone steering wheel is a welcome addition, and you get two of the most comfortable seats in the industry. You also get a very good audio system if you go for the optional unit. The one thing that lets everything down, this fake wood, well, it's fake. The power is relayed to the road through a 6-speed automatic transmission and a sophisticated all-wheel drive system. The former is a slick shifting affair that features the right ratios and manual or sport modes. Now, I never did use either of the latter, as normal took care of business quite nicely, although I would have appreciated paddle shifters given the performance side of the S60's makeup. The all-wheel drive system is worthy of note because it not only divvies up the power front to rear on an as-needed basis, it can vary the torque between the left and right wheels by applying the appropriate brake, which minimises understeer. One of the technologies this S60 features is a lane departure warning system. Now, it does a couple of good things. Obviously, it warns you if you begin to drift out of your lane, but it also promotes the use of the turn signal because that's the only way to cancel it. The problem is the noise it makes is so obnoxious, everybody's going to turn it off, which negates its value. That is nasty. The balance the all-wheel drive system brings to the S60 is supported by Volvo's active suspension system. It arrives with comfort, sport and advanced settings. However, as with the transmission, I never felt the need to move away from sport. It damps unwanted body motion without sacrificing ride comfort to any great extent. The comfort mode, just a little too soft, and the advanced mode, while it does dial out practically all body roll, it does so by using much firmer damping. Finally, the steering boasts a fast turn-in and good overall responsiveness. There really is an awful lot to like about this new S60. The powertrain is sweet, the 4C suspension ties it together dynamically very well indeed, and it's got two of the best seats in the industry. I also like some of the technology, particularly the city safety and the pedestrian sides. However, the lane departure warning, were it not for the ability to turn it off, it would have a meeting with a seriously big hammer.
Time to update our long-term 2011 Suzuki Kizashi.
I'm not a big fan of CVTs. They tend to be kind of snatchy and kind of stroppy, and I don't really like them that much. And I think Suzuki would be well advised to provide a 6-speed manual or 5-speed manual option. They do have one, so why not include it?
Well, obviously, Ted Laternis, who's a regular at motoringtv.com, made it quite clear during the initial launch of the Kizashi that he is not a fan of the CVT transmission. And if you're a regular viewer of motoring, you know I'm not a big fan either, but I could be changing my view. Simply put, since the gears are pre-programmed into a CVT transmission, you do get the best fuel economy. What Ted did not like is that when you put your foot into the gas, it's noisy, and believe me, the Kizashi is not alone here. But you know, after spending some time behind the wheel in everyday driving, I'm willing to bet that most consumers won't be able to tell the difference between a CVT transmission and a regular step transmission. The reason I say that is that in everyday driving, even myself, you really don't notice any difference. And you have the option either with the stick shift or with these paddles to change these so-called virtual gears, or as I like to do, hang on to a low gear for a little extra torque. Make sure you check out motoringtv.com. We've been testing cars for almost a quarter of a century, and you can take a trip down memory lane in the extensive motoring archives. We've got a photo gallery, and of course, the blog dogs, who look at the good, the bad, and the ugly in the automotive industry. And join us on Facebook for the total motoring experience. You never know what you'll see at motoringtv.com.
We have Brad in the back seat. I'm going to attempt to get in the front.
Could be dangerous now for Brad.
And it's not going to happen like this.
You got room.
I've got room?
Yeah.
Well, we'll slide it back, scream when we get...
Well, okay, that's about it.
I'm in. My knees are up against the dash, but I'm in.
You know, Toyota has a call center in Southern California where hopefully it's not raining like it is here in our nation's capital. On a normal day, they handle about 3,000 customer calls. Well, when the recall started and the media started reporting all these runaway vehicles on our highways, the calls increased. Would you believe on one particular day, 96,000 calls in one day? Of course, now that the story has settled down, the calls have settled down to a trickle. All right, let's head to the Quaker State Garage. Join Bill Gardner.
Brad, previously on Motoring, Graham Fletcher has test driven the 2011 Grand Cherokee. We've got one here today, and we want to look at one of the key mechanical improvements on the 2011 Grand Cherokee, and that's the Pentastar 3.6-liter V6 engine that Chrysler has developed, and the 2011 Cherokee is one of the first installations of that engine. The 2011 Challenger has it as well, and over the next few years, Chrysler is going to work this engine into many different vehicles in its fleet. The Town and Country van, the Journey, the Avenger, the 200, the 300, the Charger. A lot of their mainstream vehicles are going to get this engine, and what they're going to do is they're going to replace 7 existing engines that they use in these various different vehicles with this one 3.6 liter high-tech Pentastar V6. So there's going to be economies of scale for them. There's going to be all kinds of benefits from this consolidation. It's going to make life easier for people like myself who are fixing these vehicles down the road. If you have to buy any specialty tools, for example, one tool will fit all those vehicles if they're equipped with this engine. Now, I've gone to the Chrysler press release. I want to read some of the key features of this engine and point out a few of the things under the hood here. What we've done is we've removed that cover, the plastic cover that snaps on the top of the engine that kind of cleans up or tidies up the engine bay, and all of a sudden we're afforded a real good view at the engine bay. First thing you notice with all these covers off is there's a lot of mud in this engine bay. So some journalist has been off-roading with this Jeep before we got it. But you know, this mud's not going to hurt anything. Everything's well protected. What we want to talk about is the key design elements of the Pentastar engine. Now, it's a 60-degree V6 engine, 24 valves, so 4 valves per cylinder. It's got pent-roof combustion chambers, 10.2 to 1 compression ratio, but it runs on 87 octane regular gas. And it has no EGR valve required to meet current emission standards, and it actually meets and exceeds all current standards without the use of an EGR valve. It also has no exhaust manifolds. The exhaust manifold plumbing, so to speak, is cast into the cylinder heads, so there are no manifolds, and that allows the converters to be close coupled and very tight to the engine. Much more efficient design. And I was reading in the press release, they've versus current V6 engines that this Pentastar will replace, there's 32 current left and right exhaust manifolds, and that number will be reduced to 0 because this engine doesn't use that component. Now, on the front of the engine, it's so accessible here. There's so much room in this engine bay. When I read the press release, the number 94 jumps out at me. It's 94 millimeters shorter. This engine is 94 millimeters shorter than the 3.7 engine it replaces. It's also 94 pounds lighter. And all the accessories that are belt driven on the front of this engine mount directly to the engines. There are no brackets used whatsoever. The belt tensioner, the alternator, this idler, the AC compressor, and the power steering pump all mount directly to the block, no brackets whatsoever. That reduces vibration, reduces the number of parts they need, very compact setup. Oil filter housing mounted up top, very easy to get at. Cartridge type oil filter, easily replaceable, compact, and very easily recycled. And we can see that everything that's going to need to be serviced down the road when this vehicle gets older is quite accessible, quite easy to do by the look of it. So that's going to save consumers a lot of money when it comes to servicing when these vehicles get high mileage and start to need repairs. Till next week, I'm Bill Gardner for Motoring 2011.
You know, for me, it's really about celebrating the box, just as we did with the Soul. From a design perspective, there's something about this simple form that can be incredibly beautiful. We gave the KV7 a modern and understated elegance with upscale details like vertical LED headlights integrated with Kia's signature grille and a continuous line of LED fog lights that extend across the entire front of the vehicle. The KV7 stance is wide and an A-pillar and windshield design that's more vertical than traditional minivans. And its 20-inch wheels help to project the confidence and strength of an SUV. You know, our goal was to make an interior so inviting, you just don't want to leave. And as you can see, it's working for Eric and Enrique right now. So we've incorporated rotating seats, including the drivers, so they won't feel left out once they arrive. We also have a corner, what we're calling a mini lounge, with seating for 3 and integrated storage. The floor is entirely finished in reclaimed teak wood and features recessed LED lighting elements. Here's something you don't hear too often about a van. It's a lot of fun.
And here we go. Catch it. Come on, come on, come on. Yes, 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 yes. That's it. That's it. Come on.
I've been in an accident or two before, and one of them was in the winter because of ice, so I think this is really helpful. Now I know what to do when I lose control of my car, and so hopefully I won't be in any more accidents.
Nice job.
You know, one thing that really struck me about the Detroit Auto Show this year was there wasn't a whole lot of exciting stuff from the Japanese manufacturers. Now, don't get me wrong, the Japanese build spectacular cars. They've been very, very successful. But even over history, has there ever been a Japanese car that people bought just because they loved the way it looked? No, maybe the 300ZX Nissan from 1990, but face it, Japanese cars don't really sell on style. They sell on reliability and value. And that really struck me here. I mean, there's a new Civic concept. It's okay, but there's nothing that really excites me. The refreshed Corolla, it's hard to imagine they could make that car look more boring, but they did. We just happened to be walking by the Kia stand, and if you look at something like the old Rio and the even older Sedona minivan, well, that's what Kia used to do. But that's not what they're doing now. The new Forte, and especially the new Optima, these are spectacular looking cars. You look at the new Hyundai Veloster, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, a 3-door sport coupe based on the accent. This is a really attractive car. Somehow the Koreans have managed to leapfrog the Japanese, at least in terms of exterior design. They've always got the value, and of course they got some pretty decent cars as well. And of course the domestics have always known that style sells, and they've got some very sharp looking cars as well. I just wonder, have the Japanese maybe just lost the plot a little bit? We'll find out over the coming years. I'm Jim Kenty.
Well, it's still raining here in Ottawa, but we all know the sun will shine once again. As for Toyota, they just wish the rain would stop. They'll worry about the sun later. And you know, back in the 80s, Audi went through some of the same problems. They had the unintended acceleration, which was never proven, but it almost put the company out of business. And of course, today, Audi is thriving. As for Toyota, they're going to survive, but hopefully it has learned a lesson that my dad taught me many, many years ago. It's okay to make a mistake, but learn by it and move on. Before we go, make sure you check out motoringtv.com. Check out our blogs, always with something to say. And of course, join Facebook for the total motoring experience. That's it for now. We'll see you next time out as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
From a luxury car standpoint, you know, noise, vibration, harshness, features, there's nothing lacking. It just really comes down to, are people comfortable with paying that type of money for the Chrysler brand? I think it's more of a brand issue than a product issue.
Motoring 2011 on TSN has been brought to you by Quaker State, Real Durable Oil, and Michelin, a better way forward.